Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. How you doing this Friday? It's been 3 days since my last live. I think Tuesday. I've had 2 days without a live, which is the longest I've gone since my last holiday in October. I've just had a lot of work stuff I've been dealing with, and I actually had no video yesterday. It's been nuts. Just too much, but hopefully getting back to normal. And obviously have kickoff at 5:30 a.m. tomorrow, so I'll be there for that and after. But I hope everybody is doing well on this Friday evening. You've got some footy on. Leeds up 2-0 against Nottingham Forest. That Anderson relegation affordable player clause, maybe, who knows, could come into play, could make the Anderson thing a little bit easier. You never know. I don't know. There's denials over there being clauses. There's rumors over clauses. That's the way that football goes. But I hope you're all doing well. How you doing? How's your week been? Good evening, Britannic Mike. Yeah, I know it's weird that I just haven't done anything yesterday. I'm sure it was a bit surprising to some people. But I agree. Speaking of Anderson there, Jay Barry, even when they're losing, it's like, obviously you get good players at losing teams. Look at Cunha, stuff like that. Every time I watch Anderson, I'm just like, this is the next Declan Rice, like, just has to be gotten. We're going to regret it for years if we miss out on a player like him. It's just gotta be done. We don't have a choice. We never had a choice. He's the guy. So anyway, I hope you are all well. I do have some things I want to discuss. Obviously, we're going to do our squad vote. I want to look at our combined 11 for United and Spurs. Spoiler alert, it's got a lot of United players in it as such. So we're going to do all that. But I want to talk about the coach versus manager thing. Talk about this Patrick Dorgu kind of discussion as well, because there's been some interesting discussion. I did a poll. The results were intriguing. The results were definitely very, very intriguing in how split people are over, Patrick Dorgu. But there is an answer. There's a right answer, at least from the club's perspective. There's a right answer. Certainly there is one. And yeah, so a few things to discuss and give you some information there. Good afternoon, everyone. Do you think Newcastle sell Tonali in the summer and go big for Anderson? He might want to go back. There's a possibility, but I can't see us losing to Newcastle. If we're in Champions League positions and they're in 7th, 8th, 9th, it's Newcastle. I mean, even if they're above us in the table, see this last summer, we were able to nab basically all their targets from them. And you got guys like Mbumo and Sheshko who are just like, I'm off to the sunny streets of Manchester. You know what I mean? Not exactly, but anyway, I can't see us losing out to Newcastle. City, it's got to be a concern, of course. The fact that they're going for a player, you've got to at least think about it. But come on. I you know what I'll be here for? I will be ready for the streams of the Newcastle Vapors. I might have to get one of myself. No, I can't. But I'm ready to watch the Newcastle vape meltdown, the clouds billowing once again. We are running it back this summer on that. That was one of my favorite moments of the summer. And, we got to get back to this thing of taking the piss out of rival fans and not each other. Because those are the best times. Sitting there watching Newcastle fans melt down and start talking about PSR and huff their vapes. Like, come on, man. These are the good times, okay? And we didn't know we were in them. Those were the best of times, okay? So it was a good time. So we'll be running that back. We'll be running that back this summer, no doubt about it. I expect to be in a similar situation to that. The reality, guys, is that too much gets made of things like, oh, they're from this city, they're from that city, they're from here, they're from there. It don't matter who's putting up the money and who is presenting the best football project. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. I also want to say that I want to talk about this this silly Enrique rumor, guys. I don't know how many times we've talked about this, right? But we have a problem. For those of you who don't know the history of certain accounts on Twitter and certain accounts in history and things like that, the problem is that there's guys like Enrique, for example, who say stuff.
MG standing up to wipe yet?
No, we haven't solved it. We haven't solved it. We haven't polled it either. I'm not sure we're ever going to solve that one, Jonathan. But there's guys who like that, who've been around a long time, and they, just the worst thing that ever happened in the last 12 months for fans' sensibilities, for fans' like knowledge of what is going on in the football space, the worst thing that happened was David Ornstein endorsing Enrique. I cannot believe it happened. I don't know if he did it for a joke or what, because for what it's worth, the first person who actually reported it was an African account. Okay. And if some of you don't know, there's people, they just scroll around through articles from all over the place and post all the shit. And then once in a while, something hits. And I've tried to explain it. I'm not going to call out journalists and things like that on here, because there's a lot of people with really good information out there. And that's not what I'm doing. But that account specifically, you gotta know the history to know exactly what that account is. And I still to this day cannot believe, I cannot believe the endorsement and the consequences. It's like David Ornstein's endorsement and its consequences for the football space have been disastrous. David, what have you done? What have you done? Because it's just piles of spew that just come flying out. And once in a while, something's right, because it's all taken from all over the place. And it's just a game of numbers that on occasion, one of those things is going to be right. Yeah, he's got Gyökeres finishing numbers out there. So yeah. So just let it go. Okay. We're not getting Enrique. All right. We're not getting Enrique. He's signing a new contract at PSG. I'm pretty sure that's all been reported quite a lot recently. You got to take Enrique for who he is. It's entertainment. Enjoy it. Accept it. It's fine. In terms of some other rumors and things like that, I'm sorry that January was a boring window, but sometimes being reliable and correct is boring, is being boring. And for the majority of the January window saying, no, we're not going to sign Neves, no, we're not going to sign Ndidi, no, we're not going to do all of these things, was a really boring answer to calm everybody down, say, look, these shit deals aren't happening. It's a really boring, and I'm sorry, and it sucks, man. Usually in the January windows and the transfer windows, I'm getting like double the views, all the traffic, because United will be busy. This one was so bad and so slow that I've yet not had a January window like this since I started doing videos, where I spent the whole window going, I've got nothing to tell you. None of this is actually happening. It's like, it's just not. So I'm sorry that it's boring sometimes. But that was the truth about the whole January thing and all these links to players. And for the vast majority of them, the only things that really happened were we tried for Semenyo, we checked on some of the bigger targets and they weren't available. And we scouted some players and had a little brief chats with guys like the Cater Mete's representatives just to find out what the situation was. And we were basically not close to doing anything. We weren't letting players leave. Just to be clear, I know it's been rephrased a little bit after the fact, and it's easy to do that. we weren't even letting Kobe go on loan. Even if Emram was going to stay, we weren't really going to let him go. That was very unlikely. We were really just not going to do anything. And most of the deals that got done, besides Cities too, are deals where you look and you go, whatever. It's just what it is. It's not just us. It's just a weird one. Even more reason for relationship analogies to fill the time. Indeed. Happy weekend, Marcus. You rate the bait header, Lexi. Appreciate it. I had to do it. Had to do it to them. Devaney looks like he's had a bright start there. Yep. Good to see the young players getting out on loan. That's one of the things I think we've been really improving upon in recent years. One of those things I'm really happy about that hopefully continues, because good loans could turn, things a lot in our favor in the long term. The best thing about the window was Pep crying they didn't have enough money after signing 2 players. It wasn't that weird. Pep's on his Pep sitting there going, "Oh, we're 7th in the net spend table." The fucking nerve of this guy, okay? The absolute gall of this individual. This motherfucker is sitting here with 115 charges, trumped up bullshit finances, tons of money falsely put in, inflated fees on sales, hidden wages, hidden shit, hidden expenses, paying people allegedly, all of this, by the way, all allegedly out there in reports. I'm not saying it. It's been said. And complaining about net spend. Fucking hell, man. Like, talk about just the absolute unbelievable self-victimization. Give me a break, man. Like, what the hell? But it does all kind of add up to me, the idea that Pep Guardiola is probably leaving Manchester City, right? It's just more kind of noise when around that, when a manager starts waffling like in the way that he is in press conferences and everything. Like, come on. But we sold Bob to Fulham, right? Yeah. Remember how they got like 150 million of players to Southampton? Like, there's a reason your net spend is low, and it's because you've got clubs who are just paying you 30, 40 million left and right to buy players off of you that have never even kicked a fucking ball. Remember, they sold like a keeper who never kept a single game. Is that the right word? Never kept a single game for like 35 million or 30 million a few years ago. You guys remember that? Like, that's the kind of shit that I look at and go, well, I'm glad we have a few of the people from City on our side, because it'd be nice if we could do shit like that. But give me a break, man. It's absolutely absurd on that front. So interesting times, though. But let's talk about he sniffs his fingers too much. Like that. Like, anyway, let's talk about Patrick Dorgu. Because I did a poll on Twitter about, is he a left back? Is he a left wing? What do you want to sign? And these were the outcomes here. And there was a moment like 5,000 votes in when it was like break even. And then a couple of their counts kind of got involved. And I think the votes started swaying in one direction. Obviously, it's just an opinion of people involved and it doesn't particularly matter. But in the end, 58% of people said Dorgu was a left back. And I would have to agree. I remember looking at Patrick Dorgu's stats in the beginning of the year and going, God damn, for a left back, he has really, really good stats. And when I think about Patrick Dorgu, I think that Patrick Dorgu shows a skill set that, to me, presents more advantages for the team from the left back position. And here's what I mean by that. I think you can get wingers who can do more than he can do on the wing. He's a valuable player to play as like a wide midfielder, as something like that, because he's physical, he's strong, fast, can get up the ball. He's obviously got quality in there. He's a good carrier of the ball. But you can get players who do better at left wing. You can get players who are going to give you more offensively at left wing. You can get players who are going to involve a little more in the build-up at left wing. He's going to give you a bit more defending, but you could get better wingers. If you throw him at left back with those attacking qualities, not only is it in my opinion, one of the weakest positions in football right now. But Patrick Dorgu's skill set for a modern fullback make him, in terms of ceiling, really, really high. That's how I see it. I think his ceiling is really, really high as a fullback because he can get up and down the pitch and maraud down that line at full speed, because he can run down players, because he can outrun players, because he can counter, because he can get wide, because he can do all of that. His ability to affect the game from an attacking standpoint is, I think, giving you more as a team. If you want to spread goals around, having him at the fullback means you have an attacking fullback that can do really good things. Whereas if you have him at a winger, you are limiting yourself just a little bit. Just a little bit. I really like, and that's why like this left mid position in a 4-4-2 kind of fits him, because it sort of like plays into both hands. But we have, to a degree, been missing the attacking fullback aspect in recent times, and I think he could do that. You know, he started picking up assists. He started getting better crosses. I remember it was even, I know his renaissance here has like come more recently. Obviously, the Newcastle game starting on the right was sort of the standout, but I would actually point to the Aston Villa game at left wing back as his first game of the season where it really started to connect. He could have had 2 or 3 assists on that day, if y'all remember. I don't know if you remember that game so much, but like hit a great cross in that Cunha header from like 2 yards out, essentially missed. You guys remember that? His crossing was starting to tick. His passes into the box were starting to find the time. He was starting to create better moments for others from that left wing back position. He was starting to get dangerous over there. And I think that it was starting to come together, and then it's just continued to grow, and he's shown his flexibility in different positions as well. And we've yet to see him in the back four as a fullback. And I think that it's going to click really, really, really well as soon as that's possible. So I really hope he comes back sooner than expected, 6 weeks, something like that from now, and gets that chance in the back four. One, because be great if we don't have to wholly rely on Luke Shaw, because I could see, even though he's played a ton of games recently, you can see that I think at left back, it's a little more of a struggle for him to get up and down the pitch than it used to be. He used to be so aggressive and attacking at fullback. Now he kind of can't get there as much going forward, which is expected and probably the right thing for his injuries and fitness and career. So we need him back. From the club perspective, the reason, they do see him as more of a fullback, I think, in the long term. Because I think, again, in the long term, you want to have play, you can get better forwards, but you may not be able to get better fullbacks. Look at some of the players that are out there, some of the players that look like top fullbacks, like Ait Nouri. He's struggled with injuries right at City. Kirkes, who we rated, club rated, I rated, a lot of people rated. Liverpool signed him. He's been pretty stinky for Liverpool. Fullback is a really tough position, PSG basically have like the two really, really good attacking fullbacks in football right now. There's guys like Nathaniel Brown, but you have to think about, do they really translate to fullback in the Premier League, or are they also wingers, in the Premier League? Like the same issue with Frimpong there, where you look at it and go, is Frimpong struggling because he's not really a fullback, and so he's been playing at winger and things like that. So yeah, it's hard to say. Dorgu's perfect for Carrick's asymmetric system with one flying wing back and one. Yeah, agreed. He is one. Dallo or Mazraoui tucking and 3-0 leads and Dorgu going up. It actually works really, really well if he can do that. If we swap sides here in the future, and a lot of managers play like that. So the idea within the club is certainly pursuing some sort of winger. Lewis Hall, yes, and Lewis Hall is one that the club have even looked at and thought about, because he's kind of also a bit of a winger fullback hybrid, but probably really hard to get out of Newcastle, though it's been thought of, and Newcastle are sell to buy. You never know. Maybe we'll raid Newcastle this year. It could be. but that's a name to think about. I still think we should look to, some people have brought it up, but like bringing in someone like Miles Skelly, who hasn't gotten to play that much, I think would be an interesting one as well. Damn, that's a good goal from DCL, man. What the hell? A good deflection. That's very clever. Anyway, so yeah, I hope Forrest go down as well, making that whole Anderson thing a lot easier. But that's why a winger. We've spoken about Diomande. We've spoken about Njai. I cannot speak to the Anthony Gordon interest because I think that, while Anthony Gordon was a player that has been looked at for United and such, when you're looking at Anthony Gordon now, he's kind of a flop this season. He's kind of a flop this season. And Newcastle are going to ask for a ton of money. He's kind of loses his head, does Anthony Gordon. And if you look at what we've been doing in the market, we're buying players that are at the top of their game, not like falling off right now. And I don't, and the amount that they're going to ask for the returns you're going to get, I don't think we'll go to Anthony Gordon. I'd be really surprised if we end up going that way. How aggressive do you think we'll go with selling players in the summer? Who do you think have a high chance of being sold? Yeah, I think we could be very aggressive. Look at last summer. It wasn't just, we kicked out a lot of players. Obviously, there's the backing of the club. It wasn't not just Amarim. Certainly, it was the club combined effort, and they'd be interested in doing that again and getting more money. I think we'll be fairly aggressive with it, but we don't have as many players to sell. Højlund, Rashford. Can somebody answer me? I forgot to search. Is Anthony sold or is it an obligation or something? I can't actually remember. But, Højlund, Rashford, those ones should be wrapped up, no issue. Onana will be sold. There's like no chance he comes back. Bayindir is very plausible, very likely. Xerxes has a high chance and Ugarte has a high chance. I don't think we're going to look to sell much more than that because we don't need to. We've cleaned house a lot. So Anthony is gone. Okay, good. Thank God. I thought there was still some question about that. He's gone. All right, good. I couldn't remember for some reason. That one was such a weird ending. I just couldn't remember it. Because it just took for fucking ever. Malacia's contract expires. Casemiro's contract expires. Maguire's contract expires. So they won't be sold. They'll just be let go. So it's potentially only 3 or 4 sales. It's nothing crazy. But that would be kind of the difference there. Is that it's not a ton, so not super aggressive. I think we will sell and look to sell the players we want to sell. If Xerxes and Ugarte aren't having a strong impact on the rest of the season, they'll go. But from the main squad, I think that's it. I think those are the only 2 players we're actually look to sell this summer. I don't think we're going to be trying to do much more. I don't think we'll be trying to sell much more than that beyond the guys already gone on loan and elsewhere. You know what I mean? So, yeah, not too much, but we'll get a bit more money. Some of the permanent deals and payments will come through. Sancho's contract expires. His wages will be fully gone. Holy shit. We are freeing up a lot of money this year. And that's why I say, look, we're going to free up like another Casemiro, Sancho. Yes, a good portion of Sancho's wages are covered, but Casemiro, Sancho, Malacia, Onana. There's Maguire, Casemiro. There's so much money that's going to be leaving this club, and the budget is going to be really, really kind to us. I think. I saw some reports talking 200 million plus Champions League and things, and that's what I've been saying. We'll be spending a lot this summer. Have no fear. Don't panic. I'm calm on that situation. I'm relaxed, as the club like to say. I'm feeling good about our situation this summer in terms of wages. Now, another decent subject that I want to talk about. and one that makes me particularly outraged in light of things. I want to talk about the Glazers for a minute. Sometimes people think I don't give them enough shit. I guess we have to compete about who hates the Glazers more or something like that. But, you know, one of the things that has been coming out, and it's been, you know, it's been going on for years, their look into us, is that Avram Glazers made a $1.8 billion, yes, with a B, $1.8 billion bid for a cricket team. He's been trying to get into that for some time. And understandably, you know, it's a market from, I don't know anything about cricket, but from plenty of people who do in the Patreon and friends in Discord who've kind of explained that it is going to be a huge return on investment, very likely. It's getting into a sport that's going to double and triple in valuation over time, that it's an untapped market, that it's got huge future potential for funds. So it's an investment vehicle. And of course, the Glazers own the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a football franchise, and that has probably 10x'd in value since they got it. Manchester United, which has 10x'd in value since they bought it. And yet, not a single fucking red cent for Manchester United from these guys, from the owners of this football club. Not a single cent. They've made 10 times the value, so much money, so much growth, that he's able to put $1.8 billion in a bid for this cricket club as an investment. That's enough to buy the stadium. That's enough to fund the stadium. That's enough to build United's new ground and everything and put it there, which I understand it won't have the same sort of financial returns, although I would argue that it raises the value of the club quite dramatically in terms of revenues and things. But that's all they care about. It's $1.8 billion put into the cricket club is going to be worth more than $1.8 billion put into Manchester United. And that's all that matters, that it's going to be worth more. It's awful. Man, this is one of those moments where I get very, very irritated. And I don't do it too much though with regards to the Glazers and such. But one of the reasons it bothers me so much is that historically the Glazers have been pretty reticent to spend too much money on like anything, you know. And I get that when there's billionaires and people who are like, you know, their dad's money, they made a fortune on this and that, and they sit on their money and they don't spend much and blah blah blah, whatever. Like that's one thing. But to be able to go invest another $1.8 billion into another franchise, into a sport, when you have your debt sitting on the club, when you have your losses sitting on the club, and when that money could be invested into the biggest football club in the world to create a world-class stadium facility that has its own returns, but you have so little interest. You have so little interest in Manchester United Football Club. It's just... It's like a massive just smash in the face with your fucking whatever. Never mind. I'm not going to say the word I was going to say, but like, it's unbelievable to me. I mean, it is believable, but when I saw it's just infuriating in that sense, because it's not even like ignorance. It's active disassociation from your football club, from this thing that you own. Active avoidance when you have the money to invest in sport. Will it be using debt? I don't know. Doesn't matter. I doubt it'll be a leveraged buyout. If there's debt, it won't be existing in the same way as it does for United. I would doubt that. You know, they may be using debt as a vehicle, which would be fine if they were willing to get a loan in terms of their own personal debt that funded the United Stadium, and then they saw the returns because of the value of the stadium. I'd be fine with that if they were to use debt as a vehicle to fund the stadium, their own debt, not the debt on the club. But like, I don't know. Now, the one question we all have is, how are they paying for this 1.8 billion? Because they're not necessarily that liquid, Glazers, in terms of investments. Now, we don't know as much about them, but I can say that, NFL franchises are presumed to be worth massive amounts of money at this point in time. I mean, the Buccaneers, with the new stadium and all that, what is the Buccaneers franchise worth? Like, what are NFL teams? $6.6 billion. So, yeah, they could be borrowing against that. I think the Commanders just sold for what, like 4.5 or 5, and Tampa's a better market. But $6.6 billion is the estimated value of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So while they may not be liquid, they certainly could be leveraging other sports ventures to fund their own investment vehicles and projects, but not United. It's just, yeah. Obviously, there's also the Munich Memorial and things like that, which they never attend. Not that I think people would want them to at this point, obviously, because I don't think it's a spectacle that, yeah, you know what I mean. I don't think people would want them to at this point, but it doesn't mean that it was right for them, that it's right on their side anyway. That's still something they've created, and obviously, the memorial that happens every year and all that. But it's just, to me, it's like, I don't know. It's just so representative, seeing United at Manchester and everybody there for this memorial service and things like that. And then, the Glazers spending 1.8 billion on another franchise, and the bid going in like the same day and shit. Like, something about that, it's just something about that just bothers me. You know what I mean? Something about the like seeing those things at the same time, just it's like, fucking hell. And I'm a bit worried. I'm definitely a little worried. I'm worried about, the future, because as much there's good things happening. I think the current plan is working from a football perspective. I think the ideas are working. I think there's a lot of good things going on, but this isn't going to last forever. We've talked about the stadium. There seems to be some sort of things happening on that. We need to see some sort of movement with regards to the future agreements for how this football club is owned and run for the long term, because some of the present agreements are ending. Starting 2027, dividends back on the table for the Glazers, and they have the majority shareholding, so they can decide to do it, and that clause expires. And there's other things that expire and change, and it's concerning. It's very, very concerning, and it just, to me, poses the necessity for something to give that we need to see between now, summer, and the end of summer, and when the stadium project gets up and running, that there is some kind of something that is going to secure the future and the ownership model of this football club, because it cannot go on like this forever. So there's problems. There's problems that will be arising should it continue, and anything good that we have could easily be wiped away. With certain agreements and things expiring and all of that. Did you see the reports about the sponsorships ending as well? Yeah, look, I think that the commercial issues that we have, there's problems, but there's also some intentionality. I think that Ineos, commercial agreements tend to be long-term, right? Sponsorships tend to be long-term. And I think that from Ineos' perspective, just my opinion, this is one of the main reasons why they really need us to be in Champions League, is because the commercial agreements, some of the sponsorships they would like to enter into, replace, to enhance the club, it's hard to leverage those and negotiate them when you're finishing 15th, regardless of whether you're Manchester United or not. These companies, they want to see, they want to see their team that they sponsored visible. Think of it like this. You get a shirt sponsor on the side, right? If you play 39 games a season and you paid 40 million for that sponsorship, you paid $1 million per game. If you paid 40 million for that sponsorship and you play 60 games, you paid a lot less per game. You know what I mean? You paid like 750,000 per game. So the value of sponsorships, just using simple math, the value of sponsorships, commercial deals, and all that is largely tied to visibility, games played, Champions League, all of that, because that's where the money is. You want your brand associated with success, but you also want it visible as much as possible. It's like advertising. Like, why would you pay the same for a 40-second ad versus a 60-second ad? You want the extra 20 seconds is more visibility. It's more time in front of eyeballs. You want the same, you want that. So I think that's one of the issues they've been running into. If we're back in Champions League, I would suspect that we will see, that this will stop being such an issue. United should still be. There's been a bit of a commercial and sponsor bubble, to be fair. In general, in football, it's gotten a little bit overinflated, but other clubs are still growing on this front. United's lack of consistent success has been a hindrance there. But it should be, I think it'll be okay. If we are back in Champions League, then we can negotiate some of the best deals and contracts and things like that again. And I have fewer concerns moving forward about that. So, but yeah, I hear that there are issues and saw the thing and heard from the guys at The Athletic talking about, Glazer's concerns with that. And it's like, it's all those things at once that I just find so like, hilariously, like, if it would be funny if it wasn't horrible. Like, they're sitting there spending 1.8 billion on a cricket club, but they're worried about United's commercial difficulties. Meanwhile, the club has been fucking ripped apart and dragged to shreds by them over years, and we're struggling because we don't have the money to spend the way we would want to spend because of their negligence, and so commercial deals are struggling. Like, maybe it had something to do with that, assholes. Like, anyway, we'll move on from the Glazers and we'll talk about managers. We will talk about managers versus coaches. Okay. I want to talk about managers versus coaches, on this front, because managers versus coaches, there's been some talk about this and a feeling like this might be a big deal, the manager versus coach thing. Obviously I had my own mini meltdown, about this when Ruben Amorim left, in terms of not about that in particular, although I did, but about this concern over the director of football versus the coach versus the manager, all of that. And it was a bit irritating to me because I said at the time that I knew for quite some fact that from discussions I'd had that the whole title thing wasn't that big of a deal. And, Ruben Amorim was given a lot of backing and a lot of sway and a lot of control. He was during his time here. He was given an awful lot. So even though he was a head coach and all that, he was very influential in the decision-making process about, not specifically like picking players on recruitment, because they went for targets they really liked and passed up on some of the ones he preferred. And that was okay. But, in terms of outs, in terms of who fit in the team, in terms of, so many different aspects of the day-to-day of the club, it wasn't like he was like just some pawn that Wilcox moved around. It wasn't that important, this head coach versus manager distinction. And, the more I've heard about it, understood, and spoken to people, I don't believe this is a problem moving forward. I don't believe we're going to have an issue with, managers on that front. When I talk specifically about someone like Thomas Tuchel, it's not because of this, why I think it's a bad idea. It's actually nothing to do with our structure. It's him. He falls out with everybody. So it's not about the structure. I think it's just someone like Thomas Tuchel ends up being really contentious with practically anybody.
Liao links.
You know what I mean?
Crying face emoji.
Liao links. Are you crying?
Emoji.
Like it's hilarious and please God no, or are you hoping for Liao? Can you please clarify for me so I know how to react to your opinion there? But the structure itself, I don't think it's going to be a problem. I don't think it's going to cause us major issues. The most important thing moving forward is simply that they're in agreement on the plan in general. And that plan is very, very clear in terms of what they are trying to do. And yes, Wilcox is shaping the team and the squad, and along with Vivell and others, has the idea of like how we want to move forward, how we want to see things go in the future, how the squad should look, how the players should look, what we need, what we don't, the ethos of the team and things like that. They just have to agree on that front and then understand you don't get a veto. You're going to be heavily involved in discussing, they're going to be heavily involved in discussing like, meeting with players, convincing of the plan, the project, things like that. Hoping Rashi is gone, can't under 23 players replace him. You mean you're hoping we don't get Leao to replace Rashford, is essentially what you're saying. And I would tend to agree. Right? I think Leao is not what we need right now. He's a talented player, very inconsistent, very questionable consistency on his work rate and such especially. It just doesn't fit with the mold of the type of people we're getting, in my opinion, at all. I think we'll avoid. And we've passed up in the past for some of those reasons when we've looked at him. So it's more, again, just about having detailed agreements about all of this. A head coach, let's look at those words. You're coaching head, you're teaching minds. Right, yeah, there you go. The Rose Senior special. But yeah, it's I'm not worried about it at all. I don't think it's going to be as big a deal as it's potentially been made out. The biggest thing is that as long as coaches are being given players and said, look, we're getting you good, talented players, then they're happy. And as long as wins are happening, they're happy. I don't think we'll have any issue. And I think it puts a lot of coaches on the table moving forward and managers on the table moving forward that could fit. And and I think it means we don't have that you don't have to narrow it too much into a specific type. And I just don't think we'll have those issues. I think that for the most part, when you really break it down, the managers that fall out, I don't think it's the structure. I think they just fall out. If you look at historically, Conte, everywhere he goes, the same thing happens. Tuchel, everywhere he goes, the same thing happens. Jose, everywhere he goes, the same thing happens. I don't think it's the structure. And it's something I've changed my mind a few times, but I don't think it's the structure. I think it's just them. It's just who they are that happens. I really don't think it's about whether it's head coach or manager or model or things like that. Ruben Amorim as well, only thing I'll say on the club's perspective on this is that he was an emotional meltdown waiting to happen every other week at Sporting too. That's who he is. Maybe not the right fit for a high pressure job like this, but that's who he is. He was the same at Sporting. He threatened to quit all the time. Whenever they weren't winning every game, he was a fucking wreck. So yeah. Do you think Carrick is a strong contender on current form? Personally happy with the job he's doing, but would like to see us explore other options. I think he's a contender. And I think that the value in Carrick at the moment in terms of what you'd be bringing to the table is continuity, is the ability, the feeling of the ability, the idea of that you'd have the same guy moving forward, month to month and, and all of that you'd have the same person, leading into summer, leading into, all sorts of things, you know what I mean? And that becomes possible there, that's the main value at the moment. I think time will tell, on further points here as to, in terms of what is his top level as a coach. I think there's more to see. What we're doing now is very good. It's simple. At the same time, everybody's recognizing and nobody's going to be too reactive within the club, even if we're just give Carrick the job. And I could lean that way right now. The club themselves are going to be very cognizant of the fact that, look, there is just someone new, fresh comes in, does different things. It works better. Let's see how it gets on in the long term. And they're going to be unreactive on that front. And I don't think rush. But I am still a little worried that we'll wait too long to decide on the manager thing, because I still think that it does need to be decided before, like, the summer. And we need to know what we're doing for recruitment for so many different reasons. I think it could be scary to wait too long. So yeah, right now there's good things to like, but it takes, I think, longer to judge a coach in terms of what their top level is and where they could take the team in the future. But it's also, then you got to weigh it up against everybody else. So yeah, who would be top choice out there? I don't know. Simon Stone listed out, what did he list out? He listed out Ancelotti, Nagelsmann, Tuchel, and Pochettino. And, one of those doesn't have Premier League experience, which is a big message that was coming out originally. Maybe that changes, or maybe that changes in the process later on. But I guess we'll see. I think one of the advantages we might have is, like, if someone like Elliot Anderson isn't making the decision till after the World Cup, that does give us more time, because it means we can do the same, essentially, and we're not, like, worried about losing him beforehand. And there's guys maybe like Baleba who might be happy to commit right away. Just as an example, maybe there's others that'd be happy to commit either way, and they just want to join United. So we'll see on that front. But in terms of the top choice out there, nobody knows. I think it's really, really unclear as of now who that person is right now. I don't think we could. I think anybody saying today XYZ is the favorite is lying. That's what I would say. I don't think that it's been decided on that front. I really hope we avoid, like, the two managers that are sort of, like, been discussed a lot, that I really hope we avoid are the two that were essentially the closest in 2024, which is Tuchel and De Zerbi. I just hope we avoid it. And the thing with Thomas Tuchel is this, right? Like, I don't want to have a big thing on manager, because I don't like how this whole thing has gone with manager in and out and being placed specifically in camps. I'm, being a backer of Amorim or what have you. We've had so much contention between Amorim, between Ten Hag and all of that over the years. Like, I don't even want to take a strong stance on the manager, because the truth is none of us know who's the right person. And the majority of fans wanted Ten Hag, and then the majority of fans were really excited about Amorim, and it's like, whatever, right? Like, who cares? We don't fucking know, right? The reason, though, that I would say, Forrest almost scored. The reason, though, that I'm looking at Thomas Tuchel and saying no is that whether it should or shouldn't be, and we've discussed this a lot recently, there is a standard for United that is different to other clubs. There's an expectation among fans that is different to other clubs in terms of how we play football, right? There just is. And we can argue whether there should be or not, or whether it's fair or not, or whether it's possible or not, but there is. You have to play a certain way. You have to have a certain mentality, a certain ethos, a certain idea, a certain attacking impetus, call it the DNA or whatever. Stephen also made a really good video this morning on that, by the way, which I did watch, and I liked it, and I thought it was really good. And it's not really about tactics and all that, but there is a intent, and that's one of the things that Carrick's done well, I think, in that sense, that even though we're having less of the ball, even though it's actually a bit more defensive than we were playing before, believe it or not, the intent is not. The intent is more attacking. What you see feels more like we're going to try to win. Right? And it's not about the tactic. It's not how many defenders. It's not, how deep we play. It's not low possession. It's not, but there is something that has to be there for a United manager to get the time, the patience, the backing of the fans, and to have everybody feel good about it. And whether it should or shouldn't be, it is. Thomas Tuchel is like, can be one of the most pragmatic defensive managers out there. Like, there's a name for him. Rhymes with an organization, a defunct organization not a good one. He was called for quite some time when he was coaching in England, because he can play some really dross football to try to get results, like a really defensive, really boring, really pragmatic football to get results. And he's done that at plenty of points over his career. I don't think that Thomas Tuchel is committed to attacking football at all. And it sounds like a silly thing, but I think, again, when we're talking about this United team and what fans need and want, and let's just acknowledge that it seems like it's a necessity. I don't think Thomas Tuchel matches that. I think he's a really, really good coach, but then you're once again talking about a coach who's talented that may have absolutely no, like, he may have nothing with in terms, like, he may switch defensive whenever he feels like it, because he's that's how he sees the game. You know what I mean? So we'll see. I think that that's where someone like Nagelsmann has merit. He is an attack-minded coach, and he wants to go out and win, and he'd lose big results to go and attack. And there's other people like that, but Nagelsmann doesn't have Premier League experience, and so I'm just saying, that's why I get concerned with like Thomas Tuchel. I feel like people are gonna really like him and be like, oh, top coach, and then he's gonna come in, and it's not gonna be what people expected, and then we're gonna end up in a toxic cycle again. And I'm not even a fan of Tuchel, but I'll be sitting there being like, I kind of get it. Like, I understand pragmatic coaches, even though I understand as well that for United it may not work, but I do understand pragmatic coaches. So I don't know. I've got my concerns there, because I feel like people will be very, very worried. Sean, the YouTube membership's great, and I'll try to keep making more videos. I think I have something I could make on that front. So I'll do another membership video probably as soon as I get time. If over the weekend, I'll have maybe a 5-minute one. I do have some small things there. The Patreon is where I spend most of my time. Little updates, little things, couple one-liners, something I just heard, this and that. That's where most people hang out. Things that aren't like worth a whole video, you know what I mean? So that is the best place. But whatever you do, appreciate the support either way. About it. So Prem proven was still kind of the word though, so I guess we'll see. But I'm just gonna relax on this subject a little bit and say, again, I'm not gonna stress too much about the choice that they make and who they end up going for and all of that, because I'm man enough to say I don't fucking know who the right choice is, and that the person I want, I can have my own opinion, could be the completely wrong guy. And we should all be willing to sit in that kind of camp, because we don't know. We really, really, really don't know. And I think we've got to have a little faith and just trust that they get it right this time. And I'd like to not set myself, and I'd like for people not to set themselves in camps too early about what they think. Not that most people do, but you know what I mean. Either way, let's just ride that out. So I want to talk about Spurs. Let's move on to talking about Spurs, because obviously we've got an early kickoff. It's like 15 hours from now, 5:30 a.m. Last early kickoff was City, and we won. It was the first really enjoyable early kickoff in a long time, I think. It was a lot of fun. It was a great game. Carrick's first game. We got the win. Spurs at home. 5:30 a.m. here where I am tomorrow, 4:30 West Coast, obviously the lunchtime kickoff for those of you, the early kickoff. Then we have a game on Tuesday, right? We have this like really short turnaround. And then a long layoff, and good Lord. So it's going to be an interesting few days, but Spurs have had our number, and we need revenge, right? Spurs have had our number for some time. 4 times last season we lost them. Obviously, yes, we can pin it all on Amram, fine. But we've also had a pretty mediocre record against them before that. We got smacked at home under Ten Hag. We got smacked away under Ten Hag. Like, We've had a hard time with Spurs for a long time. And I think there's a really, really simple
Carrick is
reason for
performing
that.
at a level where probably there's not S new coach worth the disruption. Priority should be scout building.
If it continues, I would agree with you on that front. If it continues on that front, I will agree with you that it's worth the continuity and just build the squad, give them another year. I'm not at all opposed to that. But I would understand if they decide, you know what, we really do want to get our long-term coach in now. But I do think I would lean to agreeing squad building is the priority. And if you've got a guy in place who's performing well as a coach and it's not going to mess up squad building, keep going, especially someone like Carrick. Keep it going. But anyways, going back to Spurs, they've obviously had our number. I definitely have. Diomande,
Any thoughts
Yen
on
Diomande
Yen Diamond
changing
changing agents?
I mean, usually a player's doing that when they're looking for a move, right? Signed with Rock Nation. I mean, I don't know if it means much. It just means he's obviously looking for a move, which we kind of know. That's sort of, it's more just about the price more than anything else. But obviously it does indicate he's looking for a move. So that's interesting to say. The Spurs game, I think, is going to be tough. I think it's going to be very similar to Fulham as well. Exactly that. When you look at them statistically, Forrest, get one back. When you look at them statistically, Spurs and Fulham are actually pretty similar in some ways. They just do a couple things different. Now let's look at the numbers here. They're like almost identical to Fulham on this left side, which is crazy. Like same possession kind of play. They don't really counter much. They're very strong defending, but they are a better, more physical team in their own box, and they press well. Now, Fulham are doing better than Spurs, but hold on. I just want to show you this because I wouldn't take Spurs too lightly. And I'm not trying to I just wouldn't, because if you actually look at it, God, they have been shit. But if you look at it by the numbers, Tottenham and Fulham, 14th and 9th, they're 5 points apart. But statistically, Tottenham are better than Fulham. By most numbers, Tottenham are better than Fulham. They're just very weird. They're just very Tottenham-y. You know what I mean? They've turned a lot of wins into draws where Fulham have ended up with wins. And you can see by the numbers that Tottenham are probably better than Fulham. But there's a really simple reason why we've struggled, and they're going to press more and all of that. But there's two things they do that cause us problems and have for some time. Number one, they've got fast, physical center backs. It's an issue that we do have. One of the reasons we were able to slap City was how bad, the weakness of their defenders in that game. We still do our best work in transition, and that's okay. We've done our best work in transition for some time. We don't get behind Spurs. If you remember the final, it was the same thing. They're able to just get players behind the ball. We don't get behind them because they're fast. You're not going to get through easily with with one ball like you're going to against other players, against other teams. That shuts down one threat that we have or limits it. And then they can get behind the ball. They're big and physical in that respect. And our weakness is breaking down big physical teams in the box. So we just haven't done it that much. That's one of the biggest things that causes us problems and why we struggle with them. At its core, big, fast center backs. And Van de Ven and Romero apparently both fine to play. So we're facing both of them. So we've had that trouble. Šeško could be a difference maker in that respect if we want to change the way that we're playing, though I suspect we're going to go with an unchanged 11. But he could be a difference maker in that respect. The midfield that they have, again, not a good midfield, but a very energetic midfield, okay? And no matter what anybody says, the reality is we still do get run around in our midfield because we have not the most athletic midfielders and not the most athletic center backs. So when there's teams with 3 midfielders who give you the runaround, who are very, Sar has scores against us like every fucking time. You have athletic, physical midfielders that give us the runaround at Spurs. And we've had an older, aging, not so athletic midfield for quite some time. That's another aspect we've struggled against, that we've struggled with in playing Spurs. So it's kind of like they have one thing in those pacey center backs that limit our transitions. And they have another thing of a very athletic, somewhat clever moving midfield that does cause us some issues because we have an older, less athletic midfield. That being said, the way that they try to score is something that, as long as Maguire is in the game, I think we'll be okay. The game we played earlier in the season, they just kept cross, down the wings, cross, down the wings, cross, down the wings, cross. They cross more than anybody. Down the wings, cross, down the wing, cross, down the wing, cross. When Maguire was there, we were clean. As soon as Maguire got injured, we conceded in that game twice. And those crosses started coming in. We stopped dealing with them as well. It was a problem. And both Casemiro and Maguire are good for this, right? But I think Maguire's the key to that because they don't have a ton of firepower, but they can score in that way if you're letting too many of those crosses get into the box. So for me, the key to the game is Maguire for a matchup like this. And in that sense, I'm saying, again, if we just drop off a little bit, let them press us like they will, we might find a little more space in behind to help us. If they do drop in deep, recycle, let us push up so that we're not facing those transitions through our midfield. We can just counter-press appropriately. And just drop off that keeper press just a little. It's all it takes. And just, they can't hurt us. If we're not getting run through and we're in a block, they can't hurt us. I'm confident of that. So I think if we have the right game plan, then it's an easy win. May not be pretty, maybe a little scrappy in a couple goals, but I think that we have a good chance of a clean sheet against Spurs if we don't make trouble for ourselves by opening up too much. Does that make sense? What do you guys agree with that? Like that's what I think anyway. You can tell me what you think, but that's kind of my analysis of it. And obviously the game's super early, so I wanted to chat about everything now rather than the morning. But yeah, that's what I think. I think it's I think that as long as we don't cause ourselves problem, we'll be all right. We'll be all right. Yeah. So clean sheet, no chance. You don't think so? You don't think so? I think we can keep a clean sheet against them. Like here's how I see it. Okay. Let me see if I can explain this right. I think if we win, we'll keep a clean sheet. If we don't keep a clean sheet, I don't think we'll win, because I think that it's all going to come down to if we are opened up that allow them to attack us, then we're being a bit silly. We can play I'm not saying it has to be defensive or boring or whatever. I think that we can win the game quite easily by playing it correctly and get a clean sheet. But if we open up too much and we're allowing them chances, like if they score a goal, more than likely it's because we got our game plan wrong. Does that make sense? If they score a goal, it's because we're making mistakes or our game plan is wrong. Basically. That's kind of how I feel about it. Pressing their defense isn't a bad approach. I mean, there's an advantage to that. It's more like the goalkeepers. Let their center backs come up high and then press. And that mid block, don't run all the way to the keeper and press. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a right spot to press is all I'm saying. So those are my feelings on it. Let's do our squad vote in a minute, but first, these are the picks for tomorrow. Again, game's at 5:30 a.m. It's 15 hours from now, 14 hours from now. So make sure you get your picks in if you want to play over on Big Up. The link is below. Sheshko with 2 or more shots on target. I have a feeling we'll go with the same team as usual.
For Xabi, he was their top target before Amorim.
Any chance Ineos try again for Xabi? He was their top target before Amorim.
Lamans will be big against Spurs. He's getting top at commanding the box.
Has the Madrid experience changed their opinion? Lamans will be big against Spurs. He's getting top at commanding the box. I think Xabi's going to City. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think he's going to City. And I think that some of the difficulties he had at Madrid, and this might be part of where they're going, we really want experienced managers. Because you could have got Xabi right now. You know what I mean? If we wanted Xabi, we could get him today. I think he's going to go City. These are my picks. I'm not sure Sheshko will be on the pitch to start anyway. He could get 2 shots coming on as a sub, and he could be really big in this game. Strongly suspect we'll go with an unchanged 11. Lead at halftime, yes. Over 3 goals in the match, no. Like I said, I think we'll win 1-0 or something like that. Maybe 2-0. I have no idea if Gallagher's how he plays at this point, so who knows. Usually our games with Spurs have a lot of cards, a lot of mess, so I'm going to say over 4 cards. And I don't know about corners. So I'm probably going to go with these 3 picks for me. These are ones I feel will be good. I think it's going to be a semi-low scoring affair. You know, I say that, and then it'll be another 3-2. I think we'll lead at halftime, and I think it's going to be contentious in that respect. So those are my picks for the game. Again, link below to get yours in as well. All right, let's get to our lineup. Do we need to do a whole vote? Or do we just vote like one change? You know what I mean? Do we need to do a whole vote? Because we should vote for a couple of positions. So 41% said yes, we need a manager. 32% said a coach is fine. 27% said who cares. All right, I mean, that's fairly evenly split. Let's do a couple of votes. Let's do a right back. Do you guys want to see Dallo or Mazraoui? Dallo's been pretty good. But Mazraoui certainly everybody likes a lot more. But honestly, and this isn't your prediction, do you want to see a change? I think we all know Dallo's going to start tomorrow, but do you want Mazraoui to start? I'll tell you what I think. I think when Dorgu is back and playing at left back, that Mazraoui should start on the right. And then he will, and then Mazraoui will tuck in and Dorgu will go forward. You'll stick around for lineups? Nice, nice. But Dallo's been solid. I agree. I mean, look, Mazraoui's going to win the vote because we are all waiting for the next disaster, Dallo disaster, but he has been quite good. You got to give him credit when he plays well. But don't let me influence it. I think people would rather see Mazraoui. I hear that. I understand that. I voted Dallo, pity vote. I mean, he's yeah. I mean, he's not going to win the vote, but I'll give it a few more votes. Hurry up. Just click vote. Also, by the way, you can catch the video this morning if you want a quicker summary of things. You've already made it to the end, but if you joined late, you can watch the video this morning. Talked about a few things, and make sure you do watch the video from Wednesday because it's got a lot you'll want to know if you haven't seen it. I think it's a really good video. All right, so Maz wins there. I don't think anybody wants to see different center backs, or do you? Does anybody want to see different center backs partnership? I don't think so. Don't have options here. Does anybody want to see a different center back potential? Let's look at. We'll do a couple of things. Sheshko. Should Sheshko come in? Yes for Ahmad Umo to right wing. Yes for for Cunha? Yes. For someone else. All right, let's see. I just want to see if you guys want to see Sheshko come in. More votes than I thought for Ahmad. Has Ahmad become not undroppable in this community? I'm gonna have to do better brainwashing. Ahmad is our most important defender from the front, by the way. I think Ahmad is almost more important than any of our other forwards to our structural integrity. How's that? I think that's true, by the way. I'm not even memeing. I think that Ahmad is the most important forward to our structural integrity of our team. And he was under Emram and he is under Carrick. I think he's the most important forward for our structural integrity. He's the glue. He's the glue. Yeah. I would genuinely agree that he's almost more important than Mbeumo. I'm not saying better, but to almost more important than Mbeumo in that respect, because he does so much of the dirty work, the defensive work, the tracking back, the pressing. He's got to play every game. Like, he's just got to. He was rough. He was looking beat at that game against Fulham. I think he should have come off earlier for Shea Lacey. The second goal for Fulham was a bit on him being tired, quite a bit actually, but he was toasted. But I think he needs to just be subbed at 60 or 70 minutes probably, because he was huffing and puffing. But yeah. Can Mazraoui replace Casemiro when he goes off? And that's an interesting one. I would try Mazraoui as an inverted 6. Yes. I would. All right. So no change there. So Sheshko doesn't come in. That means whoa. Means no changes here. To go with this real quick. I suspect this is going to be, most people are going to vote for an unchanged team. All right, yeah. Clear answer. That's clear answer. I wasn't expecting this to not. B. And then I'm just going to do a left center back vote just in case. Just because, like, you never know. Some people might be thinking height, dealing with, set pieces on Spurs center backs, Van de Ven, the way that they get through. Maybe we need a faster or taller center back. I'm just saying, just in case anybody thinks that. Not me, but it's not a prediction. It's what you guys want. Remember, not a prediction. It's what you guys want. But yeah, all right. Sandro wins it quite clearly. All right, so look. You guys said same lineup. I didn't do a lineup this week because my lineup is the same lineup. I have Dallo in, though. I have Dallo in again. So you guys still voted for Mazraoui. I still have Dallo in the team, just like last week. I think it'll be Dallo. I think it should be Dallo. I think it's fine for it to be Dallo. I think the reason I think that is because in this current setup, someone's going to kill me for saying this. Okay? Kill me for saying this. But when we move forward in the attack, I think that, hold on, let's make it a 3-2. What am I screwing up here? I think that Dallo is better at going forward through the middle than Mazraoui and getting involved going forward. I think that if you were to swap it the other way, and this is Dorgu, I think it's like this is what I was trying to do. Sorry, I have it backwards. It's like this, right? If this is Dorgu, I would like Mazraoui. If this is Shaw, like it is, and he's staying in the back three, I don't think Mazraoui's the best player for... what do I keep doing wrong here? It's kind of like this, right? I don't think that Mazraoui's the best guy to be out here. I think he's a better center back. And I think that in years past, in terms of role, Shaw... Yeah, Shaw's like... I just don't think Shaw's the legs anymore to get up and down, and that's why he ends up often in the back three. But it's been back and forth. It's been asymmetrical, and it's been changing. It's just... When we go to Dorgu, I would play Mazraoui. Until then, play Dallo. But I'm also a big believer in riding success. When we win, and it's working, don't change much. The things that aren't working, the weak spots we have, aren't going to be fixed by any players we have at the club right now. The problems we're facing can only be solved in the market. The weak points we still have remaining are only solvable in the market. So I don't see the need to change anything until something else breaks or someone else finds another weakness or something else gets exploited. So until then, I think we don't change. Okay, that's my feeling. That would be my impetus at the moment. All right. Okay, well, that's it. Once again, I appreciate you all being here. Join me tomorrow morning. You can use that link to make your picks, but you can also, of course, use that link and then click over to the profile, and the watch along will be there bright and early, 14 hours from now. Here is the... hold on. Pick the right. And here's the game, to come hang out at the watch along right there. Also, by the way, download you can download the app for Big Up as well. It's not just the website. So if you're hanging out watching it and you want to have me on your phone for whatever reason, you can download the app. There's more features available through there. The Big Up app on iOS as well. Okay. Otherwise, that's it. Let's hope we get a big win tomorrow. I'll be back here. If I can't sleep and I wake up too early, I'll be here before the game. Otherwise, I'll be here afterwards to chat about it and go through it with you guys. But thank you once again. Make sure to catch up on the other videos. I appreciate you all. Have a good rest of your Friday evening, and I will see you in the morning. Goodbye. Hope you get a win, and good night. Goodbye.